The novel 1984 is often hailed as George Orwell's masterpiece. Yes, readers of novels are certainly familiar with George Orwell. After the success of the novel, Animal Farm, this novel 1984 is considered to be a favorite genre for many people. 1984 is a classic dystopian novel written by Orwell as a rejection of totalitarianism. This dystopian genre offers a story about the future with a depiction of a terrifying life. The horror created by Orwell in 1984 captures the attention of readers greatly. The novel, completed in 1948 with the setting of 1984, seems like a prophecy written by Orwell that truly happened in the future. This classic novel boldly addresses political issues that perhaps hadn't occurred when Orwell wrote it, but are indeed happening in the current political conditions of the world, as their truth is beginning to emerge. This novel is not scary because of its depiction of bloody scenes. Instead, it is capable of making the reader's heads explode and feeling depressed throughout reading and enjoying this novel. 1984 is a classic work that showcases Orwell's sharp satire on political rulers. Although the year 1984 has long passed, this novel is still considered highly relevant to contemporary society. Orwell's works often highlight threats to individual freedom and the importance of critical thinking. George Orwell is considered one of the most important writers of the 20th century, due to his powerful critique of totalitarianism and government manipulation. Curious about the contents of George Orwell's novel 1984? Don't worry, to ensure you're even more convinced to get and read this novel, let's explore 1984 together. 1984 by George Orwell is a dystopian novel that depicts a society ruled by an authoritarian and totalitarian regime. In the year 1984, it is narrated that the world is dominated by endless warfare between three major states, namely Oceania, Eastasia, and Eurasia. The story focuses on the main character named Winston Smith, a government employee who works at the Ministry of Truth, tasked with altering history to serve the interests of the ruling party in the state of Oceania. Throughout his life, Winston strives to be a good citizen by obeying every rule issued by the party. Although in his heart, Winston desires to rebel because secretly he questions his own country's policies under the dictatorship of its rulers. Winston works in the news and propaganda department responsible for instilling the party's vision and mission into society to make them its followers. But Winston is instead astonished by the condition of society, which seems to have lost track of the origins of their lives. In the world of 1984, the party is an entity that monopolizes power and controls almost every aspect of human life. Society is governed by a system of total surveillance and mass monitoring by the party, led by a figure known as Big Brother. Independent thought and individual expression are considered crimes punishable by law. Winston feels trapped in this cruel and unfree world. He begins to doubt the accepted truth and harbors a desire to rebel against the regime. Winston starts writing in a secret diary, questioning and recording his own critical thoughts about the system that governs his life. When Winston meets a woman named Julia, they embark on a forbidden relationship that reveals their desire to defy the party. However, they realize they are always being watched and vulnerable to betrayal. When a rebellion movement called the Resistance seeks their help, Winston and Julia become involved in efforts to overthrow the totalitarian regime. However, betrayal from within and strict surveillance by the party lead them to the brink of destruction. 1984 depicts power gained through control of information, manipulation of history, and complete control over individuals. This novel presents a dark and hopeless world, where individual freedom is suppressed and human rights are ignored. 1984 has become an iconic work in modern literature and has made significant contributions to discourse on freedom, power, and government manipulation. The novel has also left a strong legacy in terms of cultural terms and concepts, such as the term Big Brother, which describes invasive surveillance and excessive government control. 1984 is a sharp satire created by George Orwell, presenting a portrayal of the crumbling life of a totalitarian society in the future, where every move of citizens is monitored, every word uttered is eavesdropped, and every thought is controlled. To this day, 1984 remains an important literary work by Orwell that has propelled him to the peak of fame.